This show's audio was via a Skype call.
Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Get ready for Clear Speak Talk Radio with Dr. Jeanette Wolfe on Transformation Talk Radio. On this hit show, Dr. Wolfe shares the principles of Clear Speak to help listeners gain insight and tools to expand their sensory awareness, thinking, perceptions, awareness, and speech. Follow along and become empowered to start acting with greater self-awareness and certainty, and to notice beyond what was seen before. Clear Speak Talk Radio. Think it, speak it, live it now.
Hey, everybody. I got to tell you, I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to do this fabulous show with Dr. Jeanette Wolfe. And why am I excited about this? Because Clear Speak Talk Radio, Clear Speak, think about those two words, Clear Speak. I can think of so many times in my life, if I'd have only had an iota of what Dr. Wolfe does to help us not just speak, but to understand what others are saying, to live in the space of think it, speak it, live it now. What would that mean to us? What happens if we can discover how that inner dialogue, those conversations, the words, what we create in our lives, whether it be at a personal or professional level, what if we could truly, truly master the energy as well as a perfection of the gift we've been given to speak? Today, we are taking on one of my favorite topics as Dr. Jeanette Wolfe, world-class facilitator, transformation catalyst, scholar, philosopher, researcher, human capacities, propelled her through a very unique experience. That's why she's on this network, right? To step forward and say, here I am, here's what I'm learning, and here's what I want to share. Whether it's her vast knowledge of history or culture or new science or information or spirituality or human development, all of the above. There's one thing for sure that she does, and that she helps people she works with, clients, businesses, it doesn't matter, expand exponentially, as she spends time, shares time, spends space, shares space with each and every one of them. Today, what does it mean to be in the flow? Now, Dr. Wolfe, so much fun.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat, for that amazing introduction. I really appreciate it. One thing that I am absolutely certain of is that this masterful space of creation is available to everyone, and that exists and is accessible by a clear mental body. And that's truly the space of now. And in that space, there's no perception of what could go wrong or what's supposed to be or supposed to have happened based upon some story, history, or learned information that was handed to us or that we've been programmed by. And I've come to know that space in the nanoseconds between some rather unusual neurological anomalies that I've experienced, one rather significant stroke, and in that space realized that instantaneous choice to not be affected by a perceived outcome that someone else assigns to us. And that's truly the space of creation. So ClearSpeak originated from some of these situations, and it's an essential actionable state of self-editing, self-inquiry, and it provides cadence and space between the words, between the self-talk, the thoughts, the belief systems in order to consciously construct the experience that we choose to have from the inside out.
We have, fast forward to sort of the headlines of things for a minute. And what I'm talking about is many people point to a period of time where the movie and the book came out. And the movie and the book, as many people knew it, back in the day was The Secret. But before The Secret, there was another book that came out that became, for me, one of my first introductions just to the tip of the iceberg of what you're talking about here today. And that was What the Bleep. And when I think about this and think about talking with you today, there's so much, Dr. Wolfe, that we don't know about what we speak and how we speak it. There's so much where we don't understand the relationship between what comes from us, what it creates, what it attracts, and how it could essentially alter the direction of our life. Now, I want to ask you from that, I hope I haven't oversimplified it. Have I?
Actually, the point is that it is incredibly simple. It's not necessarily easy because we, as a human collective, have been consistently programmed to believe that some outside source creates our condition. Mm-hmm. And I would say that much of what we see happening on a collective level now is perhaps a misuse of personal power. It's very interesting to see how influencers shift the dynamic of belief systems. And within that place of awareness, when we are influencers, when we are capable of shifting belief systems in mass scale, I would say it's so essential to really pay attention to the sphere of influence that we have and to pay attention to the impact of our personal energies, personal belief systems, and words. And I actually just came across an article that the title so surprised me. It was, "You're not imagining it, second children are more likely to be troublemakers." Now imagine what just that one sentence creates in the belief systems of parents, caretakers, educators. And this individual goes on to share some pretty interesting perspectives around his studies of how second-born boys are more likely to challenge authority, get in trouble with the law, and be all-around goofballs. And there's certainly some interesting stuff in there, but back to that place of creation and the simplification is be accountable, be responsible, pay attention to what you're repeating, pay attention to what emotions you're tying to it, and pay attention to the collective narrative around what the belief system is now. And I believe that we're seeing so much that isn't necessarily true through these emotional screens. And that's what ClearSpeak asks. What are the facts? You know, I do remember Dragnet. I think you and I are of, yes. I loved Dragnet as a child because it was just the facts, ma'am. And that's really what it boils down to. Can we gather information without tying some sort of story to it? And our listening filters these days could require a little bit of attention, right? So ClearSpeak is not just what we say, our internal speak. It's also the way that we're able to actively listen and not tie our drama, our experience, what we heard from someone else, what Google says, to someone else's situation, and to really pay attention to being empathetic, which is I hear you and, come pass on, versus sympathetic, which is, oh, that's so horrible. Did I tell you? And make the story bigger and not offer some sort of solution, solace, or simple space.
Yeah, I want to talk about this in this way, too. When I opened the show, one of the things I said, flow. What I want to get back to is something not only you and I talked about, but something that is so critical to that, which is actually the topic for today, the topic that's going to cover it all, time. The word time. You see, how are these two words directly related? But for a moment, I think we must have take a push pin and put it in time and have a conversation about it. Because the minute that I say time, whatever I just said is no longer the present. And so we look at our lives, Dr. Wolfe. I mean, how many times have you been asked by somebody, what do you do? Who are you? What's your elevator speech? Where have you been? I mean, I could go on about it. And the minute that you begin to talk about it, it becomes a benchmark for a life experience that you've had and an interaction between you and whoever asked you that could never be duplicated in the same exact way. What do you think about that?
I love that you bring that up, because so much of the corporate work I do, I ask people to introduce themselves from a place of who are you? And I usually open that with, I am information, I am flow. My name happens to be Jeanette. My full name happens to be Jeanette Wolfe. And an acquired piece of information is whatever it is that people know that I do. And there's a big difference between our beingness and our doingness. And that actually creates the space of knowing ourselves beyond time, because we always show up as the I am. And so flow is that place where we feel our best and perform our best, and it has nothing to do with what we do. When we're in flow, we can place our attention on whatever is required in now moment without getting caught in the idea of how much time we have to do it, what happened the last time we tried to or someone else tried to do it, and become often frozen in fear that we somehow don't have enough time. And so flow is knowing ourselves fully and completely from that place of certainty in our beingness versus our doingness. And a lot of people, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's corporately or friends or family, are like, Jeanette, how do you do all of those things? You know, some people chime in and say, master, are you capable of mastering all of these things? And I truly believe that when we exist in that place of pure presence and we give whatever is in front of us our perfect attention, it actually eliminates the idea of time altogether. And we're consistently in the perfect place and time. And whatever we intend, right? And intend is really interesting too. Intention takes us out of present moment, and it usually contradicts that place of presence, because we set an intention when we're doing something that perhaps we think is not so good. So, Pat, I just had a piece of chocolate cake and I said I was going to go on a diet. So tomorrow I set the intention to not eat that. So we're not actually even really enjoying the cake, the moment, whatever, because we've now set the intention to not do that. And so I would say flow is I attend, not I intend. And we become incredibly efficient. And the brilliance is also that you're not tired. I really sleep maybe 3 to 4 hours on a regular basis. And when I am joyfully in the space of attention, there's no fatigue because there's no effort. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And, you and I were talking about this. I can't remember which time, but one of the times I was saying to you that for me, my release valve is I go hit a little white ball. On some days, I can hit that little white ball at about 15 miles an hour, 1.5. On other days, I can hit that ball, much faster, almost 5 times that. But it doesn't matter whether it's that fast or not that fast. My entire focus and energy is directed right at the task at hand in that nanosecond, right, of what I'm being called in that minute. And once I do that, Dr. Jeanette, and I've been joking about this with you, once I do that is I'm ready for the next one. I don't belabor whether I hit it. However, I do play with some partners. And one in particular, every shot I hit, there's something that's going to be said on it. So it ties me at moments to stay in that past event, even if I'm talking seconds of time. Emotionally, it shackles me to a past event. And I'm now so aware of that since you and I talked last time. So if that happens to me playing a game called table tennis, what is the impact of how it happens to us in living our lives?
Well, I think that the part that really trips us up is the mind's idea of liking or not liking a situation. When we don't like a situation that we're experiencing it, our dislike of that doesn't cause it to go away, right? In present moment, it's like when we're in the flow and everything is flowing, then we don't stop and pause. The moment that it's not going the way that we thought it ought to in that flow, right, that emotion tied to it shifts it. So what ends up happening is that our dislike collects in our unconsciousness, and then on the surface, we put on a smile because we try to rationalize it, or we think that somehow positive thinking is the key. So, I'm going to apply positivity to this, and I'm going to decide that this is, not going to happen again. And what we actually do is split our well-being into fragments, and we condition ourselves to block the flow of our whole self. And so in that place of noticing it and going, it's a matter of fact that transpired, and then not kicking into the idea of contrast that it was good or bad or right or wrong or could have been better, right? And that's the point. We are living in a world that is all about contrast, and it's usually the judgment of what we think is success instead of just observation of what is that creates the issue. So, to catch ourselves and go, isn't that interesting? Isn't that, and again, it's so fun because many of the people that I work with privately now laugh and go, Jeanetteism's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. And they're learning to discover that there's less emotion attached to interesting and I notice than going, I can't believe that happened. That's terrible. Now they all just kind of put their little smile and go, that's interesting. And just the fact that there can be humor attached to finding something interesting that they're not comfortable with already begins to dismantle the stories around it. And that's what we want to do. We want to let go of the stories. So interesting is a fun way of going, okay, that's a matter of fact. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable, but I'm not tying a drama to it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I want to follow up with you on that because you're really now opening up something that is so kind of important for most of us. And that is we look at our past, right? We look at our past. And I want to focus on sort of the things that we kind of remember about our past. I'm not saying that they're all, negative, my word. But I am saying, but we tend to remember those things which have had traumatic consequences to us somehow. And somewhere along the line, we carry them forward. I remember this, Dr. Wolfe. I walked in, my friends wanted to get a reading from a psychic up in Port Townsend once. And I remember going in there, all my friends went in there. I wasn't exactly wanting to do this, right? Of course, on my show, I've been in front of many psychic mediums, really talented, but I wasn't feeling it this day. But anyway, I went and I walk in the room. I don't even open the door. Walk in. She says, stop, don't come in. And I thought, what happened, right? This is my mind now. She says, you have 3 metal caskets chained to you, and you're bringing them in here. So walk slowly. And that opened up a conversation. Now, for many people that are listening to this right now, you're thinking, what has that got to do with anything? The minute I sat down, we started to talk about who are these people from your past that are coming forward. And the metaphor or the analogy was weighting you down so heavily and unconsciously, perhaps, that you're not able to step forward in the pursuit of happiness or anything else. And I want to talk with you about that. I want to talk with you for a minute about how much power our past has if we allow it. Tell me about that, and also about what Clear Speak or Clear Speak can do to help that or help release that scenario so that let's just say the natural way of flow can even happen. Because what she was saying to me is flow is a no-go, Pat. Flow is a no-go because nothing can get through those caskets. What do you think?
Wow, there's a lot. There's a lot to look at there. So number one, sphere of influence. Again, I find it so interesting how many people hang up the sign and say, I'm an authority about your experience in your life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's a doctor that's been studying for years and years, and they've had their emotional experiences of losing patients, or many doctors go into the medical field because of their story around wanting to save people and some sort of personal peace. So that's that. Let's put that into one bucket. Then we have people that we go to for help, like psychics. And I certainly know and truly value intuitive, empathic insights. And I often share with my clients, as I support tuning in as well, not from a place of telling them what their story is through my eyes and my own filters, but from a place of asking them questions. And it goes back to what I said earlier around the sphere of influence. When we go to a psychic or to a channel or whatever, it's kind of like going to the bar and sitting down and saying, hey, gang, this is the situation. What do you think? Everyone is going to give you advice. And I've mentioned to you before the thoughts around advice. When you take that word apart, it's adding advice. So even if we gather information from other people's experiences or what they ascribe to their abilities, we have to remember that it's coming through a human filter. And it's kind of like when we read about Nostradamus' predictions and he talks about the great metal birds and the fire in the sky. He didn't have a point of reference, right? So there's something called inattentional blindness. And if we don't have a reference point for something, we don't even notice that it's there, or we make it mean something that isn't necessarily what it is. So when you say, what's the power of the past on us? The power of the past, number one, linear time ended in 2012. So that whole piece of spiritual seeking and desperately trying to understand and clearing things, it's less about clearing things and trying to clear up what made us what we are, and really realizing that with every moment, we are able to consciously create. It's the place of moving from the consciousness of life happens to me, and I have no choice because, I was beheaded as Cleopatra a couple of billion eons ago, with how many people having been Cleopatra, I will add, or this and this happened to my parents, or even in conscious memory, I have no choice but to be hypervigilant and wait for the shoe to drop because, my entire experience from my early childhood on has not felt safe to me. And I'm not saying any of that without compassion. I'm simply saying pay attention to where you have held on to stories that keep you small. And that's the point of ClearSpeak. It's moving into the consciousness of, with every word, with every thought, I create the experience that I choose to have, and moving within this container of basic premises of consistently editing in the moment when we drop into, this is what happened to me, and that's why I am the way that I am. We can shift the way that we are moment to moment, mindset and physiologically, simply by deciding what our harmonics are, our stories, our songs. And so every time we play the song of what someone said is holding us back, we've just created another weight. And And if we believe that someone else is going to magically lift that off of us, and it's not our conscious collaborative participation in creating our own harmonics and our own story, then that is the life that we will live. So it's not about turning the page to see what happens in our book. It's about being the authority of our story, the author of our book, and writing what the story is. Right? Yeah. And that's the difference. ClearSpeak brings you into actionable responsibility and respondability to the moment without waiting for some outside figure to tell you how and what your story is.
I love it. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, Dr. Jeanette Wolfe here, we are going to be speaking about how do you do that? And what that means is, what happens if I go back to that article where, Dr. Pat's is the second child? What happens about that? How do we turn that story around? But whatever the story is, there's no judgment about it. Big, little, in the middle, doesn't matter. It's a story. And if it's a story of our past, how mindful, how aware are we that we are literally fulfilling a prophecy that either we have created based on a set of old data or that somebody else is creating for us still on a set of old data? And what do we do about it? Case in point, if you'd asked anybody on the planet, the Patriots should not have won the other day. Dr. Wolfe, before we go to break, how can people find out more about you? How can they find out more about ClearSpeak?
Please check out JeanetteWolfe.com, and I'm really excited. In 7 days, we're birthing Planet Apothecary shop with more information on the services and solutions that we provide. You can find me on Facebook and Planet Apothecary at Outlook.com for any emails.
When we come back, we're going to be activating, ready? Going to be activating the system of the brain. Well, Dr. Wolfe is going to do it. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Imagine that you can create anything you choose. Literally, imagine it. Join us to explore the neuroscience of imagination, intention, and ClearSpeak. Tune in to ClearSpeak Talk Radio with Dr. Jeanette Wolfe on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Every fourth Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, as she explores how your inner dialogue, your conversations, and the words you choose to use can help set goals you keep. Achieve greater health and resources and feel the ease and flow of loving your life. For more information, visit JeanetteWolfe.com. What are the Planet Pods and Planet Filter Self-Care Alchemy Essences? Our high vibrational essential oils and body butter contain living energies of specialty herbs and essential oils. All our products are created using the energies of nature. Made from flowers and herbs, each blend is then programmed using crystals, sound, color, sacred geometry, and other energies found in nature. Our products have a delicate aroma, and more importantly, they contain the vibrational signature of plants and other energy forms for optimal healing. Check out planetapothecary.shop to add these to your family's self-care and well-being.
Hey, everybody, you are tuning into ClearSpeak. And what I want to say is, first of all, there's much information you can find out about ClearSpeak. And Dr. Wolfe, if you would mind just telling everybody where to go for that, how to get engaged, and if they want to find out more or talk with you or hire you for work or any or all of the above, how do they do that?
Simply check out JeanetteWolfe.com online, and you can email at planetapothecary at Outlook.com, and check me out on Facebook, Planet Apothecary, also Jeanette Wolfe, and we're here and we're excited to share more.
Okay. This happened yesterday, so this is fresh, like off of the beat, right out of the gate, right? It's like picking your own ripe apple. Had an injury. Right? Had an injury, right? 6 months ago, and didn't go away. So I said, okay, let me go back to my doctor and let's get the things done, right? It's in my hip, glutamus minimus, that part, your butt. Go back, get like series of x-rays, MRIs, all of that. You name it, it's there, right? Finally, get the appointment with the doctor that scheduled them. Walk into the doctor, and there's so much information, Dr. Wolfe, about this, the images. So I thought we were going to have like a big chat. Walk in the room. The assistant comes in, doesn't even have my right sheet. The doctor comes in and says, yeah. I know you came in here for your hip, but it's not. We don't even know why you're standing. It's your back. And I thought, what you just said to me absolutely makes no sense because, one, I am standing and I am moving. So his message to me was go schedule a back surgeon doctor. In that moment, I'm at a point where I have to process whether or not I believe him in that moment. And because I've had some experience with doctors in the past 15 years, I decided I don't believe you. So what happens is I take a look at the x-rays myself, I read the report myself, and then I make another appointment for another doctor. It took me several months to get. And yesterday I walk into the doctor. He's got all the same x-rays. He does one little test on me, and he looks at me and he says, you're right. It's not your back. It's your hip. You probably have torn something in your hip. Now, I'm using this as an example because it is just one of many examples of things we face every day in the world about how we're going. I'm not even going to talk about what we believe in the outer world, but what we believe for ourselves, Dr. Wolfe. What we believe for ourselves. You could not have told Tom Brady that every sportscaster was saying that they were done. You couldn't tell me that my injury was in my back. But most people, and I am one of them from a previous decade, I would have taken what that doctor said, probably have gone seen a back doctor who probably would have wanted to perform surgery on me. So help us understand how we face ourselves in light of information that perhaps we know may or may not be true. And how do we not make that become our future, but create our own destiny through clear speak?
First and foremost, it is paying attention to how we feel. What's our sense of our own experience, and really committing to feeling our feelings fully, and allowing ourselves to pay attention to what our body consistently, intelligently informs us is going on where we haven't been paying attention to our own care, because that's the point that the body starts to speak very loudly and creates uncomfortable dialogues with us when we haven't been present. And so if we are at that point where we're being informed by some outside figure that we have this dis-ease, and I create that pause on purpose, right? Because we don't have diseases. We have symptoms of dis-ease in our form that inform us where we've not been present. And so pause. Pause when you are informed about whatever your experience is, and notice where you apologize for your feelings. How many people walk away having the sense that the information isn't true and still yielding to it, right? And that's something, again, that is a collective conditioning. So I would say let's just start with the simple commitment of I commit to feeling my feelings fully and to completion, and I allow them to arise naturally and to sense, to locate them in my physiology, neurology, psychology, and then move and breathe and articulate them fully. Sometimes even just articulating them to ourselves begins to shift the symptom that is speaking so loudly. And then, of course, we have the option of committing to resisting and judging and apologizing for our feelings, right? Because when we resist What we resist persists. When we're finally at that place of being in front of authority and going through tests and conversations and dialogues to discover what's wrong and why we have pain, it's usually from having resisted the information to begin with. When we start to have that little pull, that little tug, when maybe we need a few more minerals or whatever it is, that is resisting. So the difference between committing to feeling feelings is resisting our feelings. And then that snowflake gets bigger and turns into a snowball. And then maybe an avalanche where we start to judge them or judge ourselves that, oh my goodness, something must be horribly wrong with me that I could allow this to happen to myself. And that creates more lag and drag. And then we show up in front of some authority that tells us it's not this, it's this, when we know where the discomfort lies because it's our experience, right? It's our unarguable truth that this is how we feel. And then we apologize and say, oh, gee, yes, human authority. I'm so sorry that I thought it was this, but if you're saying it's that, well, you're the boss. Okay. And so we repress, avoid, and withhold, and they get bigger.
Yeah. I love that we're talking about this. I want to jump to something directly related to this because I think I become an observer of myself, Dr. Wolfe. And the reason I become an observer of myself is because, there was a point in time where I looked at my life and I looked at my childhood and I say looked at it. I literally dragged some of that stuff forward, right, with me. And what did that cause for me? What are some of the language, totally probably not clear speak language, but let me throw it out there for you. Chip on a shoulder. Unapproachable, language like this. Now,
I want to. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, yeah.
You said something really interesting before the break when you mentioned the psychic.
Yeah.
You said the phrase traumatic consequences.
Yeah.
And so just that is really, really interesting because is it a traumatic consequence or is it an aha moment?
Yeah.
Right. Again, in that place of wanting everything to be textbook fairy tale and the idea of pursuit of happiness or, people having, and let's dive into, I want to create that bucket of the chip on the shoulder and the unapproachable, because that's really powerful because that we could say that's a consequence of moments that have been traumatic or uncomfortable. But again, when we start to rephrase the idea that trauma actually doesn't have to have a negative emotional charge.
Exactly.
And we could be driving. Yeah, right. So again, when we attach that's horrible to something, it becomes traumatic and it gets bigger. And bigger and bigger because humans tend to, especially empaths, right? When we feel so very deeply all of these things, many times we're not even aware that what we're feeling isn't ours. And then we get together and it's like, oh, did you feel that? I felt that. And I felt it this way. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that it's human nature to want to share and get sympathy. And then it gets larger as well. So first piece is, do we really have traumatic consequences or simply moments where we go, oh, wow, I never want to feel that way again. And if you really go into the instinctive mind, if I put my hand in a fire and I start to feel that my hand is getting hot or maybe even, beginning to burn, I take my hand out. It's not a big story of, oh, my hand is now burning. Let me remove my hand. Yeah. It is an instinctual, and if I put my hand in the fire purposefully to see what happens, it's less traumatic because I've been a willing participant. It's shocking when we have an experience that we believe that we're not willing participants to, right? When we're sitting in front of a red light and all of a sudden someone beeps the horn because maybe we didn't move as fast as they wanted us to. It's a traumatic moment because we're shocked out of our perceptual reality of everything is cool into someone else's. And so that becomes traumatic if we make it that, if we rail against it. So again, it's that piece of can we simply matter-of-factly be with what is and not resist it, not rail against it, just go, oh, that's interesting. That person must be in a hurry. That person maybe woke up, in an uncomfortable state. Maybe they're late, whatever it is. To not even go into the story of it, just go, oh, okay, yeah, have a nice day. And keep on keeping on. And not, call someone and say, can you believe, there I was and my day was great and now my day is ruined. It is what it is till it's not.
And this really is part of, let's just tie this all in here for me. One of the things that you and I talked about, and I've talked about it on air, is I've never understood conceptually the power of now the way it was presented. I mean, maybe that's because sometimes I could go way intellectual on things, but I've read all the books, I've looked at the material, all of the above, and I've never been able to connect the dots between the way the power of now has been laid out in this particular culture, in this thought culture, and then take the research on flow and put them together to say, now flow, now flow. And I'm like, now flow. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's wrong. It's the other way around. It's flow now. So if you're flow now, you can't be in the power of now because you're in the power of flow. I don't know.
It's not separate.
Yeah. But you see how we try so
right,
hard.
The mind. Oh. Right. But again, I'm certain, Dr. Pat, that you've experienced those moments where you're just so in awe of, I don't know, a child, an animal, an incredible vista, and nothing else really matters. It's that aerial view of all is wonderful. And the moment that we begin to allow ourselves to be in awe of every moment, and let's just rephrase now into comfortable or uncomfortable versus good or bad. Because when we can go, oh, I'm really uncomfortable right now, we can edit moment to moment versus I feel bad. And so in exploring that place of now and flow is the ability to edit moment to moment. It's not that we're going to sit there in our discomfort and go, okay, well, that's fine if I stay here forever. And perhaps it's actually a really great reference point. And I do that with folks that I work with. It's like, what if nothing, absolutely nothing changed in your discomfort? What would that feel like? And I will share with you, truly, this comes from experience, because having had the unique physiological anomalies that I've had, strokes and many different dis-eases that I experienced through and with my patients, there is not a day in my life that I don't have very significant discomfort. And I could curl up and go, oh my God, this is horrible, and wallow in the horror of my discomfort, which, according to traditional medicine, I really should be immobilized by my discomfort. But get that, right? The authorities say I should be. They don't understand why I am able to consistently operate in flow. And it's a choice point. I am in awe of every moment that I wake up and I'm here, that I can enjoy a piece of chocolate or a carrot or a moment with my son, my patients, my plants, my animals, whatever it is. I am in awe of what is in every moment. And if it's uncomfortable, I don't think about what happened the last time that I was this uncomfortable and push that into the future, fearing that at some point I will be disabled. I go, all right, what can I offer myself right now? And I will say that I have an incredible library of information and life experience that I am able to access. And there are moments where I'm amazed at myself that I will know something instinctively without ever having been exposed to it. So I would say that I'm very blessed with that. But now is truly beyond the place of the pursuit of happiness or feeling good or getting healthy or having this end somehow. Because if I focused on this on this ending somehow, I would be perpetually upset that there hasn't been an answer to having me feel good every single second of my life.
Wow. Let's talk about exactly what happens in the context of what you just shared. And you, of course, thank you for sharing what you did, because, sometimes through our own personal experience, it's the best way for others to have a point of reference. One is, wow, look at that. I don't have to be alone in my journey. There must be a way that, having gone through all of what I've gone through, I could be at that same place that Dr. Wolfe is at. And so I think that's important to do. I learned that because I didn't share anything about my illness for almost a decade. And until one of the listeners finally said, please talk about this, Pat, because we're experiencing something like this as well. And I realized, too, in what you said, that there's a reaction that I think each of us can get. So let me give you a specific. I grew up with a stepmom that was so powerful in my life. I learned so much. But one of the things that I learned from her that I'm not exactly sure if this is helping me or not in life was no complaining. No complaining, right? Nope, girls, nope, that's not going to happen. And so all of us grew up with, if we have something that we wanted to change or fix, starting a conversation out complaining about it was just not going to get my mom's attention. Mm-hmm. And here I am talking with you today. And what I realize is I still have some of this with me. And I'll just say this. The other day, I am doing something with somebody, and I said to them, look, we've played about 5 games together. Why don't we play again? I'm excited. Let's play again. And they went through at least 3 minutes of telling me that their stomach hurts, that they feel like they're dehydrated. Literally, I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, I just ask you a question. Do you want to play or not? Right? This is me now. And they're going through 5 minutes of this. And they're telling me all of this stuff about like how they're feeling. And I'm like, my gosh, do you want to play? Yes or no?
Well, so there's a lot of golden nuggets in that.
Yeah, empathy did not show up in that moment. But I was aware of it, Dr. Wolfe, and I calmed down.
Yeah.
I calmed down.
And I would say, yes, empathy. And it can be helpful to even steer their attention into what they're able, right? So ClearSpeak really is consistently looking at what we're able to affect versus not. So no complaining, I would say, certainly shifts our attention into what are we able to do. But every time that we attach no to something, it actually creates resistance to the moment, and it can create, right, an internalization of things. I'm not allowed to do that. It's not as useful as saying, focus on solution. And it's a very simple shift. One is don't do something, and the other one is please be curious and engage in this. So focus on solution, come to me with answers, come to me with suggestions is very different than no complaining. And of course, there are many personality types within that. And so if someone comes to you with all the reasons why not, say, and it's long and you just really wanted to know if they wanted to play or not, thank them. I would say there's a really huge difference in sympathy and empathy, because sympathy is that place of meeting them in the horror of what they're feeling, the discomfort of what they're, oh my God, yeah, I get it. And you didn't want to go there. So the moment that you thank them for information, it actually, it eases the situation. Thank you so much for telling me that. And it's really fine. I just wanted to play. Because, again, people just want to be acknowledged and honored. So what this person was telling you with their pain and discomfort was that they really just needed to be acknowledged. So you didn't have to hear the entire litany of that. But thank you so much. and, not thank you so much, but, right? When we use but, it negates the kindness of the first part of it. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I guess we won't be playing. Is there anything that I can offer you? Would you like a ride home? Shall I drop you at the doctor? Should we go to the drugstore? So thank you, and then a solution. 3 parts. Really simple.
I love it. I am telling you, this was such an amazing show. And this is only one of a series that we're going to be doing together. Dr. Wolfe, I want to ask you again, how can people find out more about you? And then I'd like to recap on, today, flow or no-go. What did we talk about today? And let's talk about a personal message we want to leave everybody with. But first, how can folks find out more about you?
Please check out JeanetteWolfe.com. PlanetApothecary.com. We're on Facebook as well, Jeanette Wolfe and Planet Apothecary. And stay tuned, Lunar New Year. We are launching our first product-based offering of solutions in terms of services and actual products at planetapothecary.shop. You can email at planetapothecary@outlook.com as well. And we're excited to hear from you all.
Now, other than my own personal assignment for today, and that is to eliminate but from thinking and conversation. That's what I'm taking on. What's your personal message? What would you love to leave all of us with today? What a great show.
Well, I would say commit to feeling all of your feelings and really allowing yourself to feel them to completion, and notice any moments where you resist or judge yourself, and pay attention to everything that you are able to act upon, no matter how small, versus what you're not able to act upon.
Wow.
That's an incredibly powerful space.
It's totally. Dr. Jeanette Wolfe, everybody. Clear Speak Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat. We are warming it up. We will be back next time with Dr. Wolfe, and get ready to incorporate something so fantastic in your life. You'll notice the change instantaneously through Clear Speak. We'll see you next time, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Clear Speak Talk Radio with Dr. Jeanette Wolfe on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Tune in every 4th Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern as Dr. Wolfe works with you to consciously construct the life you love. Learn how your health, relationships, your joy, and flow can grow in direct proportion to your expanded self-awareness and communications on Clear Speak Talk Radio. For more information on Dr. Jeanette Wolfe and her amazing work, visit JeanetteWolfe.com.